ועכשיו אני רוצה להציג את הפנליסטים. אז יש לנו את יעל ברנע הישראלית, שהצטרפה אלינו, היא עורכת דין ופסיכיאטרית, והיא תכף תספר קצת יותר על עצמה. יש לנו את ונדי רדקליף, שהיא אחת משתי היוצרות של הסרט הזה, תכף היא תספר עוד, ואתם בטח מזהים גם את אנג'לה פיקוק, שהייתה החיילת בסרט, והיא עכשיו, כמו שהיה כתוב בסוף, עובדת סוציאלית עם תואר שני, והיא אקטיביסטית בתחום בריאות הנפש. ועכשיו כל חברי הפאנל יוכלו ככה להגיד כמה מילים. בזמן הזה אתם מוזמנים לכתוב שאלות ב-Q&A, ואנחנו לא נוכל לענות על כל השאלות, אבל נשתדל כמה שאנחנו יכולים. יש לנו עד שעה 10, אז בהצלחה לכולנו. אולי יעל, את רוצה, יעל ברנע רוצה להגיד כמה מילים?
על הסרט או...
באופן כללי, מה שבא לך, מה את עושה,
כן, אני בעלת קליניקה פרטית, מטפלת בתל אביב. אני ראיתי את הסרט והוא לא פשוט לצפייה. אני רואה לצערי הרבה בקליניקה שלי הרבה נפגעים של טיפולים פסיכיאטריים, ואני חושבת שהרבה הודות לך, אני גם מטפלת בהרבה אנשים שמעוניינים בהפחתה של תרופות פסיכיאטריות. אם יש שאלות, אני אשמח להתייחס אליהן.
Maybe Wendy, you want to say a few words?
Sure. Yeah. Does everybody hear me?
Yeah.
Oh, I forgot something important to say. Excuse me. שימו לב, יש פה את יעל נוסבאום, שהיא מתרגמת מאנגלית לעברית ומעברית לאנגלית. בשביל לראות את התרגום שלה, אתם צריכים לכתוב עכשיו, ללחוץ על הכפתור של ה-CC, ואז יש לך 3 אופציות, משהו, לא זוכר בדיוק, אולי allow משהו, אני לא זוכר בדיוק, אבל בשביל שאתם תוכלו לראות בזמן אמת מה אנחנו אומרים בעברית, אז תלחצו על הכפתור של ה-CC, ואז אני ברח לי מהראש איזה מה3 אפשרות, אבל מה שנראה לכם הגיוני. הנה, בסדר, זהו, אמרתי את זה. Excuse me, Wendy, please continue.
Oh, hi. Well, I'm really happy to be here. It's always really exciting for us to do screenings in other countries. We've done, probably 200 screenings in the United States, but we've only done about 3 or 4 internationally. So we're really excited to get this film out to people in Israel. It's great. Thank you for inviting us.
Angela?
Hi, hello everybody. My name is Angie. You saw part of my story in the film. I'm now 5 years off of all medications. I still suffer from some neurological effects from that. I did go to social work school, so I trained to be an outpatient mental health therapist, but I decided not to do that at this time. So I'm using my social work to do things like this and to talk about these issues and to just bring attention to the harm that has been caused by, by the mental health industry to people like me, and just to bring more attention and awareness to these problems. So thank you for having me. I look forward to hearing what the audience has to say.
Great. Thank you. So let's see. Oh, yeah, so we have a lot of questions. Yeah, where do we start? Here's something in English. I'm at a very small dose of Zoloft, 12 milligrams. I was on it since August 2020. I have been weaning off for a month. I have been cutting it myself. I'm guessing I'm down to about 6 milligrams. What are your recommendations? So maybe, Yael, do you want to address that?
אני חושבת שיהיה פחות נכון להתייחס למקרים פרטניים של איך לבצע את ההפחתה, אולי יותר לרעיון הכללי, כי זה באמת פאנל כזה ולא לא ייעוץ אישי, ואני לא רוצה שאנשים ייקחו את זה, ואתה יודע, זה קצת מורכב מבחינת אחריות מקצועית.
כן, כן, זה באמת נכון, כאילו אי אפשר על רגל אחת להגיד משהו, זה באמת מאוד מאוד מורכב וצריך להיכנס לעובי הקורה של הדברים האלה.
כן, אולי שאלות יותר כלליות, או פחות מקרים פרטניים של איך להוריד וכמה.
Can I say something, Shimon? Because I'm not in a professional role. In general, that there's really no protocol or a rate someone can tell you. And if they try to tell you, you should probably run. It's a very individual thing. And the best thing to do is just read as much as you can about the ways that people taper. In the United States, we have something called the Withdrawal Project. It's online, you can Google it. And it talks about how to weigh how fast or how slow you should go. So everybody's different. I mean, I took 10 years to taper off of everything. And I don't even think I knew I was really going to come off. So just be careful, go slow, listen to your body, and decide what rate is best for you. You're the one that has to deal with the consequences.
Yeah, Angela, I see there's a question. It says, Angela, how did you quit the drugs? Maybe you want to expand on that a little bit?
Sure. My process started where, like you saw in the film, I was just questioning, like, why don't I feel good? I don't understand. If I'm taking all these medications, I should feel good. And I can remember very clearly, I would sit on the curb outside of my therapist office, and I would think, like, why does the world feel like it's going on, but I am not in it? Like it was like a wall was between me and a life. And so I just would have these little questions come up, and then I would talk to my psychiatrist and say, can I just come off like one of them and just see how I feel? And, you know, this became a very bad cycle, because they would let me come off of one and then they would put me on something else. And then I maybe come off another one a year later, and then it would be, here's something else. And so it was like I was losing my intuition. I knew something was wrong. So finally, I met a psychiatrist who said, you're on too many. You need to come off. I was on 17, as you saw in the film. So he took me off of 10 overnight, and I had a horrible withdrawal. I was in the psychiatric hospital for 45 days. I hallucinated, all kinds of things. But from that point on, like I said, it took 10 years. I went very slow. Some were taken away very quickly. It wasn't until like the end that I learned you can't skip a day. Like for some reason, psychiatrists say you take one and then you skip a day and then you take it the next day. That did not work for me. And that's when I kind of learned this is not going to work. So I had to open little capsule and lick my finger and take the capsules out and count the little tiny balls and then throw them in the jar. I did that for 2.5 years. That was with duloxetine, which the old name was Cymbalta. And then last was tapering my benzodiazepine, which is the one that almost killed me. But who knows, you know, was it really that one, or was it a accumulation of all those years on psychiatric drugs? So that last one, I tapered for 2.5 years. I did like 10% or 5 to 10% every 4 to 6 weeks. As I got toward the end, I had increased anxiety, increased agitation. They tried to put me on more medications. Then I got suicidal. Then it was, that's your mental illness. You're relapsing. You need to be on these drugs. And I knew inside, no, this is not, I have no reason to be suicidal. I have no reason to be agitated. I want a clear mind. And that was what I wanted, you know? So then they took me off the drug abruptly overnight in the hospital because I was suicidal, which I should never have gone there in hindsight. And then that's when I experienced benzodiazepine withdrawal, which almost killed me, I swear. For a good 2.5 years, I felt absolutely horrible. I barely left my house. I couldn't shower standing up. It was very intense. But after there, I started to, you know, slowly get better and better. And here I am now. It's been 5 years since that last dose. And that's my process. But everybody's process is different. I would just beg you to listen to your intuition. If something is telling you you don't feel good, something's not right, to listen to that, because I was talked out of that for a really long time.
Thank you. Thank you. I have to admit that we're bombarded with questions right now. There's so many people who would like to ask so many questions. Here's a question to Wendy. Did you get strong reactions to the film from the medical establishment or pharma companies?
Yeah, that's a great question. Yes. We recently showed the film at Yale Medical School, which is one of the most prestigious universities in the United States. We showed the film to about 30 doctors in a grand rounds. I wasn't there. Apparently they had a very heated discussion after the film, and we were told that some of the doctors really appreciated it, but others were offended, and they thought that it was imbalanced and maybe too negative. So yes, we tend to find that a lot of psychiatrists don't like the film that much. They'll often say that they agree with some of it, or they'll say, oh yes, we agree about the pharmaceutical company corruption. That's really bad, but I help my patients, you know. So it's sort of, we get a mixed reaction from psychiatrists and doctors, which I understand. And I actually often say that I feel that the doctors and psychiatrists are actually victims in this situation too, because most of them or all of them go into medicine wanting to help people and to heal people, and they are not getting good information about the drugs and about the side effects of the drugs from the pharmaceutical companies. So we really don't want to be blaming doctors for this situation. Nevertheless, in answer to your question, yeah, we do get a lot of reaction that is somewhat negative. We haven't shown it to pharmaceutical companies, really. We did show it to one person who worked for a pharmaceutical company, and he didn't like it.
Thank you. So another question is, so okay, let's say you don't want to use the medication. What else could help with overcoming these challenges, these difficulties, whether it's anxiety or depression? What else could help other than medication? This is up for grabs for Yael or Angela or Wendy.
טוב, אני אתחיל ואולי נצטרפו. אז קודם כל זה, אתה יודע, צריך לשמוע את אותה מטופל או אותו מטופל או אותה מטופלת, ולהתרשם מהמצב. הרבה פעמים יש טיפולים פסיכולוגיים שמאוד יכולים לעזור. יש אנשים היה לי לא מזמן איזה בחור שהיה מאוד מאוד מדוכא, ובסופו של דבר מה שעזר לו זה לעבור הוא היה בעל חברה, ובסופו של דבר מה שעזר לו זה לקחת יום, יומיים בשבוע לעצמו. ואז הוא הולך לגלוש ועושה מדיטציה, הליכות בחוף, ופשוט לא היה צריך טיפול תרופתי, אלא זה פשוט מה שפתר לו את כל הבעיה. זה נורא אינדיבידואלי, וכמו שאנג'י גם אמרה, כמו לגבי הפחתת תרופות, הכל נורא נורא אינדיבידואלי וצריך להיות מותאם לאותו אדם. יש אנשים שכן תרופות מאוד עזרו להם, יש אנשים שתרופות פגעו בהם, יש אנשים, אני גם מאוד משתדלת להקשיב לכל אחד מה הרצונות שלו. יש לי מטופלים שמגיעים ואומרים, תני לי משהו. לא משנה מה, אני צריך תרופה. ולעומת זאת אחרים אומרים, אני יכול להתמודד אחרת, ובואי נחשוב על עוד דרכים. אני במקרה עובדת בקליניקה שהיא קליניקה של רפואה משלימה בעיקר, זאת אומרת, רוב הרופאים שלצידי הם בכלל רופאים סינים ויפנים, אז לפעמים זה גם שיטות שיכולות לעזור, אבל זה נורא, זה לא, אין כאן איזה כלל אצבע, אלא אני מאמינה בלנסות להתאים לכל אחד את הדרך שלו להחלים.
Angie, do you want to add to that?
I'll talk about, I have a friend, he says something very smart. He says, find the problem and fix the problem. You are not the problem is the problem. And that always speaks to me. Like, you know, we have problems in our lives. We might have a toxic relationship that makes us depressed. We might have a job like Shalimar. She had a job that she was working night shift, you know, but we take that as like, that's me and I need to take a medicine to deal with the problem. But instead, I think we need to look at our context, our community, our relationships, you know, how much time, like you said, Yael, about time you spend with yourself. Right now I'm going through a difficult time because I had to put my dog to sleep and I'm grieving. And so I'm crying a lot and I talk to friends and I just allow myself to cry and I lay in the bathtub and I cry and that's okay. I don't need to take medication for it, you know, but I do see like the feelings are so intense. I understand why we look for something to numb that. But I think when you numb what's going on, it follows you like a ghost. You still have to deal with it, you know? So it's better to work on what is the problem. And, you know, I don't blame people. Like she said, some people benefit from drugs. I'm sure I did, but it like just made me not care about them. The problems were still there. The trauma was still there. It just made me not care that it was there.
Somebody wrote, Angela, you are a warrior. Thank you for sharing your story. Did you take anything natural or do anything else to help you in the process?
I'm really big on diet. I know somebody else asked about diet in the comments. So me, I've had to clean up you can see my eyes are puffy. It's because I ate really bad food yesterday. So I eat really, really healthy. I take lots of walks. I sit in the sun. I keep my atmosphere really calm. I have to keep things quiet, no drama, no excitement, just calm and peaceful. And I'm doing some programming right now about like working on your nervous system and how to calm yourself. So I do a lot of grounding, mindfulness, yoga, all those things. I wish I would have done those 15 years ago. I would have prevented all of this, you know, this loss. So I think everybody has a magic potion for themselves. And you have to try a lot of different things and it takes a lot of time, but there's so many things that are free. Like yoga is free on YouTube. Diet, you can get creative and get some seeds for $2 and plant really healthy food, you know, in a little pot. There's all kinds of things to do, even if you don't have a lot of money. So I would just look for, try tons of things and come up with a little potion for you.
Another question that came up, אני אגיד בעברית, כשאין בן משפחה שיתמוך בתהליך הגמילה, ובמיוחד כשהמשפחה מתנגדת להפסקה, מה עושים? Anyone want to comment on that?
Wendy, do you want to say anything?
I didn't understand that because it was not.
They said when you, what happens if you don't have a close family member to help you through withdrawal? And
I add to that, not only help you, but somebody who's actually hindering the process, who's opposing it.
Ooh. Well, you want to say anything, Wendy? I know some, I could say some.
Yeah, I mean, I would just say that's a very tough question. And I do, from the people that we interviewed, which we probably interviewed over 100 people about their withdrawal before we did this film. I do think, you know, some people might be in a situation where they shouldn't try to get off of psychiatric drugs if they don't have, you know, any support, or if they're in a situation that's too demanding, because from what I have learned, it really can be so difficult that, you know, you shouldn't underestimate how difficult it might be if you're on high doses of many drugs. So it's not like everyone can do it. That's just my opinion.
Yeah, and I'll say that I did not have any family support. I didn't even have doctor support. They didn't believe that I was in withdrawal. So what I did was hang on to the online communities. I know this is hard for me to believe, but there's 100,000 people in the United States that I could pull up on my phone right now that are tapering without medical help, many without support, and they hang on to each other, and we just help each other through it. It's peer support at its finest. But I have seen people kill themselves from family members that like continue to say, no, you're mentally ill, you need to take your drugs, there's nothing wrong with you, you're really crazy. And that can really mess with your head when you're trying to do this hard thing. So I would say be careful, make sure you have some kind of support, even if it's online support or a neighbor or a church member or something like that. It's very hard.
I want to add to that in my practice with people who want to withdraw, so I feel like, you know what, I'll speak in Hebrew and I don't have to break my teeth. אני שמתי לב שלמשפחה עשוי להיות תפקיד מאוד מאוד חשוב בתהליך הזה של הפחתה. אם המשפחה תומכת, זה מאוד מאוד יכול לסייע ולהקל. מצד שני, כשהמשפחה מתנגדת, זה יכול מאוד להעיב על התהליך. ולכן אני חושב שאחד הדברים החשובים זה לייצר דיאלוג בריא, לפעמים בתיווך של איש מקצוע, בנושא הזה של הירידה. ואני עשיתי את זה הרבה פעמים. כשבאים בצורה, כאילו, עם מוטיבציה נכונה, לתאר מצד המשפחה, כאילו, את החששות, ואת ההיסטוריה של מה היה ומה זה, אז אותו בן משפחה שמעוניין להפחית, יכול לקבל פרספקטיבה יותר רחבה, ואולי לשמוע מה שיש להורים שלו להגיד. מצד שני, כשהוא מתאר למה כל כך קשה לו, ומדוע הוא סובל כל כך כשהוא לוקח תרופות, בני המשפחה יכולים בפעם הראשונה באמת לשמוע ולהבין את זה יותר לעומק. אז בקיצור, אני ממליץ שייווצר איזשהו קשר, אולי בתיווך של איש מקצוע, סביב הסוגיה הזאת של הפחתה. כי כאמור, המשפחה יכולה מאוד לתמוך בתהליך או להפריע לו. So, more questions. Here's one in English. How do we know for sure that the meds are the reason for all the symptoms that suddenly started appearing? Could it be the illness actually worsening? How can we know what's the reason?
Well, I can take a stab at that. I think you don't know. And one of the experts in our film, Dr. Peter Gocha, said that you really you can't make a diagnosis of anyone when they're on psychotropic medication, whether it's prescribed medication or if they're on, you know, recreational drugs. You can't really understand what is going on with someone. What is the person and what is the substance? And as you know, as we showed in this film, both going on to a medication, being on a medication, or coming off and stopping a medication, all of these things can cause psychiatric symptoms, and it's on the drug label. If you actually go to the FDA label on these medications, it will list all sorts of psychiatric symptoms that may be caused by that drug. So I think it's very hard to know what's going on with the medications that are there.
Yael, do you want to say something?
אני חושבת שזה, אני לא יודעת אם בכלל אי אפשר לדעת, כי כן אפשר לפעמים לשער בסבירות כזאת או אחרת, אבל אני חושבת שזה באמת יכול מאוד לבלבל. כי באמת לפעמים, שלי ברקע, לפעמים הסימפטומים שחווים הם באמת יכולים להיות כתוצאה מהתרופות, ולפעמים כתוצאה מאיזושהי החמרה. צריך לעשות איזשהו ניחוש מושכל שמבוסס על מתי זה הופיע, אם זה דברים שפעם היו למשל, עוד לפני התרופות, או זה משהו חדש לגמרי, כמה זמן עבר על התרופות, האם היה איזה שינוי לאחרונה, אבל לדעת בוודאות לא תמיד ניתן.
And for me, I just say that it wasn't clear. It wasn't clear at the beginning. It happened so slowly, it was almost imperceptible. And then all of a sudden you're like, wait a minute, why? I was not like this a month ago. Like, I remember I went to get fast food, and I was so upset that they didn't put ketchup in the bag. And I was like, why can't you just do your job? And I remember thinking, like, what? I never have acted like that before. What is going on? You know, it didn't make any sense to me. But once I was off, it was so clear. It was physical and mental symptoms. And I knew from my study in social work school that there's no physical symptoms to like, I don't know, there was no burning skin listed as a symptom of depression or brain zaps. That's not, you know, so I had these physical symptoms where I couldn't stand up to shower. I was so dizzy, I couldn't walk. I had burning skin. I had patches of skin that were numb, you know, all these weird things that were clearly not mental illness. So that really helped me. And it also helped me to think like, this is not you, Angie. This is the drug effect. This is from, you know, it helped kind of with my healing process too.
And if I may add, למעשה בעיניי זה אחת הסיבות שעדיף אם אפשר להימנע מתרופות פסיכיאטריות. כי ברגע שאתה לוקח את התרופה, אתה כבר לא יודע מה גרם למה, ועכשיו מה שאתה עובר זה בעצם ירידה מתרופה אחת, או שזה העלייה על תרופה אחרת, או שזאת האינטראקציה בין התרופות, ונוצר כאילו בלגן שלם במערכת. ולכן כאמור, אם אפשר להימנע, אז עדיף, ואם צריך אז לעשות את זה בצורה מאוד מאוד שקולה ומדודה. Another question that came up is, this is actually something that's becoming more and more popular these days worldwide and also in Israel. What about psychedelic medicine? There is research in universities such as Berkeley and Johns Hopkins. I think this is the future. Maybe Angie or Wendy, do you have anything to say about this topic?
I'll say something quickly and then I'll let Angie. Yes, this is more popular. It is popular at the moment. Certainly the history of psychiatric medications should make us be very cautious about research findings, because leaving aside, on the one hand, there's the issue of pharmaceutical companies wanting research on a drug or a medication to succeed, because then they'll be able to get approval and they'll make money. That may be less of an issue with these psychedelics, but nevertheless, often the researcher who is doing the research personally wants the trial to succeed. So there can often be an unconscious bias and even incentives for people's career to show that something works. That's one thing. Then another thing is that, you know, we all everybody would like to find some magic treatment that would make depression go away, that would make psychosis go away. And, you know, in a way, that's a good thing, that we want people to be happy. But personally, I'm a little bit skeptical that there is any chemical you can take that is going to magically take away suffering or problems that may have been part of who you are and how you live for years and years, and that may be related to things that happened a very long time ago. So I would be cautious. However, one thing that I do like about the psychedelic drugs is that they're not drugs that are taken every day for the rest of your life. And there is no pretense that these are correcting a chemical imbalance and that you need this to fix your chemical imbalance. They're being used honestly the way a drug should be used, which is to say, this changes you for a period of time, and maybe that will be helpful. So in that sense, I feel it's a more honest and possibly helpful treatment for some people.
And I would just add the importance of informed consent, that the same as we were saying about psychiatric drugs, you know, just make sure you know going into it, it's not always a cure-all. It's not, some people have a really bad experience. Some people don't come out of that experience. So you should know that beforehand. And the only other thing I want to add is I'm just always worried when an industry of any kind wants to hijack a certain thing and use it for their own purposes. So what I'm fearful of is I hope they don't, like, psychedelics is the future and now everybody needs psychedelics, because we're still operating off that base assumption that there's something wrong with you. And I don't believe there's something wrong with all of us. You know, if you want to do that because it helps you through an experience or you gain a better insight, that's one thing, but coming from that place, I guess.
Can I say something technical? When people are writing in the chat, right, is that the way we see it is when people write something on the chat, it obscures the transcript, the translation. Are you also seeing that? Because if that's the case,
I just moved mine. You can move the closed captioning. So I moved mine by the camera so I can look at the camera and read at the same time. And the chat is off to the side.
That's an important thing. I'll say it in Hebrew. מי שהצ'אט מסתיר לו את התרגום, יכול פשוט לתפוס את התרגום הזה עם העכבר ולהזיז אותו הצידה, שזה לא יסתיר לו. Okay, great, thank you. יעל ברנט, יש פה שאלה, איך אפשר ליצור קשר עם יעל? את רוצה אולי לשים את האימייל שלך או משהו פה
כן, איך? צ'אט או...
כן, אולי בצ'אט?
אוקיי.
כן, תודה.
איך?
בואו נראה עוד שאלה. Okay, so I stopped taking antidepressants 12 years ago without weaning, and have never regained my sense of self. I don't feel the way I used to. My mother passed away in the meantime, and I couldn't cry or feel sad. Is this ongoing withdrawal symptom? Is there any help for this?
I mean, I don't know. I can tell you I can cry now, but it took 5 years to be able to cry, and make it feel like it was really mine. So we don't even know what these drugs do. We don't know how long it takes. We don't know how long it takes to heal. I'm still in that process. I know my healing has been really, really slow. And plus then there's the trauma of like losing all those years being medicated, you know what I mean? And then losing your ability to cope with those things. And then like learning, who am I without drugs? What do I even like? Like that's still part of my process. Like, I don't even know what I like because I didn't care for 15 years. You know, I was just a patient who took pills and did what I was told. And now I'm like trying to become a human being. So I think it's all a process. It's a really scary process. I haven't really found a lot of help. Like I wish there was a therapist I could go to talk about the trauma caused by the mental health system. But in the United States, like they don't want to hear that because there's that own complicity, I guess. I don't know if I said the right word, but you know, that they could have been part of that harm. So it's hard for them to hold that for another person. So, I mean, I feel for you. I understand exactly what you're dealing with because I'm kind of in that same situation, but all I can say is like, there comes a point when you have to take your power back for your own life and figure out, who am I? What is my meaning that I'm going to take from that experience? I don't know. And then just have a bunch of new experiences and try to feel your emotions. It's so hard. Wendy.
I would just like to make 2 comments regarding that question, which is really interesting. Most doctors would say, you know, that this couldn't be, you know, this couldn't possibly be an effect of having taken antidepressants, that so many years later, you still feel a flatness of feeling. However, I am aware of, there is some research on the one hand, what's called tardive dyskinesia, which is a well-known side effect of antipsychotics, whereby there is neurological damage that does not go away even after the person takes the medication. So that's one example. And then I believe there is some research been done on antidepressants on sexual dysfunction, that antidepressants are well known to cause a significant reduction in libido, in sexual desire and sexual function. I think something like 40% of people who take antidepressants have that. And there have been some studies that show that even after people stop the antidepressants, this can continue for a very long period of time. And medicine, we really have no answers as to why is this? It may be that some sort of neurological damage happened and it just doesn't heal.
Yeah. Thank you. So I guess this one is for you, Angie. What helped you to balance your emotions during the withdrawal in the hardest moments, and what helps now so it will be bearable?
And the hardest moment was literally, I mean, I guess they call it mindfulness. I didn't really take a class or anything to know that. I just would focus on this moment. I need to live through this moment. What am I going to do for the next 10 minutes? What am I going to do for the next hour? And then those hours just added up. I mean, there was times when I counted my heartbeats when it was at its worst of worst of worst. I would lay under a blanket and just count for hours to get through it. That's how horrific it was. I know that I'm not everybody has a withdrawal experience like me. Some people can get off just fine and not have any problems. I was definitely an extreme case, so don't be scared by what I'm saying. And then now, I mean, now it's like, it's easier to live. I'm not suffering so hard like that, but distraction was key. I listened to a lot of audiobooks, YouTube, talk to friends, walk, you know, I would go for hour walks, and then, you know, you cook for an hour and then you clean up for an hour. Like all those things would add up while I was recovering. I went to school. That was a really good distraction. It was really hard, but it was good to keep my mind engaged. And I kept thinking I have to have these commitments and deadlines and talk to friends and engage. And like, that will help my brain somehow. I know it. So it's just best to distract and just get through it with the little help of your friends.
think it's also has to do with like the willingness to go through this hardship, which our society doesn't really encourage that. They don't train you, you know, in school or whatever, to really be able to work with your emotions. You learn all different things, a lot of facts about history and that, but you're when you finish, you know, your education, you're not prepared to deal with these kind of things. And you have to learn it on your own, the hard way sometimes. And after you've taken medication, and sometimes it's very, very difficult. I found it that some people just it's just too difficult for them to handle that. And I think part of I can assume that part of your personality, also being a soldier and everything, is the like the toughness that you
Yeah.
the resilience to
Yeah.
really go through all these and then come out from the other side and know that you're strong. And, yeah.
Yeah, maybe, but I also got really mad because I was like, I'm not going to die from this. And then they're going to say that I was mentally ill and that poor soldier just killed herself. I knew that I was like, nope, they're not going to say that about me. I'm going to stick around and tell the story of what happened. So yes, but I do think you have to prepare for this. If this is something that you want to do, you have to prepare, you know, a year in advance. Make sure you have a support system. Make sure you build your coping skills. Have a plan. Like, how are you going to, you know, what are you going to eat? Like, there's things that I'm sad it happened to me the way it happened, but I'm almost kind of glad it happened the way it happened because I didn't have that time to plan. And then when I was thrown in the fire, I just had to come out of it, you know. But it does take preparation. I would not make this decision just loosey goosey, you know.
So here's a question. What about the major illnesses like bipolar or schizophrenia? How should they be treated if not by medicine? Um, who wants to address that? Um, so I can say that it's complicated. It's complicated going through these challenges with medication, and it's complicated going without medication. And like I just said before, in order to be able to kind of live in society with your predisposition, which is, you know, being bipolar or having a lot of energy or having depression or having these altered states of consciousness naturally, in order to you know go through day to day, you need to have a lot of tools, which we call also wellness tools, that can kind of help you bring you back or ground you to what's going on in life. And these tools need to be, אני אחזור לעברית. הכלים האלה זה כלים שצריך לרכוש אותם, לטפח אותם ולפתח אותם בחיים. זה יכול להיות כלים תזונתיים, כמו שאנג'לה אמרה משהו על התזונה, זה יכול להיות כלים של מיינדפולנס, זה יכול להיות קבוצות תמיכה, זה יכול להיות, יש אלף ואחד דברים. אם אתה אוהב לעשות ספורט, אז לעשות את זה, ואם אתה אוהב לכתוב שירים או סיפורים, או לצייר או לרקוד, כל אחד עם מה שעושה לו מחבר אותו למישהו ולרווחה הנפשית שלו. וזה בעצם מסע של גילוי. אז בתשובה של השאלה עם הסכיזופרניה והביפולר, אני מכיר באופן אישי, וגם חקרתי את זה בדוקטורט שלי, אנשים שהצליחו לחיות את החיים שלהם בצורה טובה ומספקת, עם מה שכאילו הרפואה הבחינה בתור סכיזופרניה או הפרעה דו-קוטבית. אז זה אפשרי, אבל נורא חשוב, זה מצריך התגייסות מאוד 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 גדולה ואקטיביזם. אתה לא יכול פשוט להגיד, אוקיי, זהו, אני אהיה בסדר. לא, אתה צריך לעבוד על זה ולטפח את זה כל יום, כל הזמן. כמו שוויל הול, שאולי גם אנג'י וונדי, you know Will Hall? You probably have heard of him. הוא ביקר פה בארץ, והוא אמר, כמו שאנחנו לא יכולים להפסיק להזין את הגוף, אנחנו צריכים כל יום להזין את הגוף שלנו, אנחנו צריכים גם להזין את הנפש שלנו. אי אפשר להגיד, אוקיי, זהו, עכשיו אני כבר סיימתי, ובעוד חודש אני אעשה עוד פעם משהו. לא, זה משהו שצריך כל יום לטפח ולפתח. Anyone else want to comment on that? Or
okay, I will. I just feel like I'm talking too much. Wendy, are you sure you don't want to say anything? Can't hear you.
That was beautiful. I very much agree with everything.
I just wanted to add, I think as a society, we fear those people and we think that medication is an easy answer. But I can tell you because I've experienced extreme states during the withdrawal process, it's given me a different perspective on those people. And I feel like their world quite literally drives them crazy. You know what I mean? And a medication is not going to, fix that for anyone. And it's still that base assumption that there's something chemically wrong with them, but nobody has proven that. So I would just be careful with continuing that line of thinking that, a pill is going to fix all the problems in the world. It just doesn't.
So we're coming close to an end.
אני רוצה אולי להוסיף לדיון הזה, אני גם מאוד מסכימה עם הדברים שאמרת, אני חושבת שיש כאן גם את העניין של ההבחנות, כי יש למשל את מה שקורה בפינלנד, עם הדיאלוג הפתוח, ששם לפי זאת אומרת, אזור שדווקא היה מוכה בסכיזופרניה יחסית, בעזרת טיפולים שהם ברובם לא תרופתיים, הצליחו להגיע למצב שרוב האנשים שלמשל חוו אפיזודה פסיכוטית, ואם היו בעולם בישראל לצורך העניין, היו מקבלים את ההגדרה של סכיזופרניה, שם אחרי 5 שנים שמסתכלים על התפקוד שלהם, התפקוד הממוצע שלהם, שיעורי התעסוקה שלהם יותר גבוהים מהממוצע. ולעומת זאת, אם ניקח את אותם אנשים בישראל שקיבלו את התיוג הזה של סכיזופרניה, עברו את כל התהליך של ההסללה לביטוח לאומי וקצבאות ועבודה שיקומית מקסימום, 90% מהם לא מגיעים אפילו לשכר מינימום. אז יש כאן גם את הנושא הזה.
So, we're coming close to an end. I think there's one more question and then we can wrap it up. Do you see any role for nutrition in coming off drugs? Who wants to address that? Anybody?
אני חושבת, זאת אומרת, אני באופן אישי מאוד מאמינה שלתזונה יש מקום. לצערי בבית ספר לרפואה, אני למדתי בטכניון כאן בארץ, לא קיבלנו אפילו רבע שעה בנושא של תזונה, אבל באופן אישי גם על עצמי גיליתי כמה זה משמעותי, והשנה גם נרשמתי ללימודי נטורופתיה, כי אני כל כך מאמינה בנושא, כן.
Okay, so I think first of all, אני אגיד בעברית. סליחה לכל מי ששאל שאלה ולא קיבל תשובה. יש באמת 66 שאלות ועוד 93 בצ'אט, ואנחנו התייחסנו אולי פחות מ5% מכל זה, אבל זה מה שהזמן אפשר לנו. וכמובן, אתם מוזמנים להיות איתנו בקשר ולשאול מי שרוצה. יעל כתבה את המייל שלה, יכול לפנות אליה, אפשר לפנות אליי, אפשר לפנות לעמית תלם שעכשיו שלח את הקישור לשם שלו, ואני מאוד מאוד שמח באופן אישי על האירוע הזה. 470 איש נרשמו אליו, וכאמור, זה בעצם יריית הפתיחה להתחלה של קורס שאנחנו נעשה, שנקרא לומדים הפחתה, זה בחינם, וגם אנחנו פותחים את האפשרות החדשה של הקורס שעמית תלם ינחה, ואתם תקבלו על זה פרטים מחר, ואני מרגיש שלאט לאט אנחנו מגיעים לעוד ועוד מעגלים, גם של אנשי מקצוע, גם של בני משפחה, גם של אנשים בעלי ידע וניסיון, וזה חשוב גם לאנשים שלקחו את התרופות ורוצים להפחית וזקוקים לתמיכה ולייעוץ ולהכוונה, וגם לאנשי המקצוע, גם הרופאים שרושמים את התרופות, וגם לאנשים, העובדים הסוציאליים והפסיכולוגיים, שככה יותר יחשבו ולא ייקחו את זה כמובן מאליו שלאנשים יש חוסר איזון כימי במוח שצריך לטפל בו. אז לאט לאט אני מרגיש שאנחנו קצת גם משנים את דעת הקהל, ועוזרים לאנשים שטרם התחילו לקחת את התרופות, לחשוב טוב האם זה משהו שהם רוצים לעשות או לא, ואנחנו באמת חלק מאיזושהי תנועה עולמית שקורית. יש באמת את ה-International Institute for Psychiatric Drug Withdrawal, המכון הבינלאומי לגמילה מתרופות פסיכיאטריות, וזה בעצם בא כקונטרה לזה שמה שנקרא יד מאוד קלה על ההדק, ומחלקים עכשיו תרופות בסיטונאות. אז תודה רבה לפאנליסטים, זה אני, אבל תכף כל אחד מהפאנליסטים גם זה. אני גם רוצה להודות ליעל נוסבאום, שעשתה עבורנו עבודה מדהימה בתרגום של הסרט מעברית לאנגלית ומאנגלית לעברית. ואז תודה רבה לכולם, ואנג'י, maybe you want to wrap up some things?
Yeah, really quick. If everybody could please follow us on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. You can find us by just searching for Medicating Normal. On our YouTube channel, we have like 120 small clips that are supplementary to the film, and we have panels just like this one. So please go watch those and share. It'll help us get the message out. And thank you all so much for having us. I love Shimon. I'm just happy about this, and keep up the good work. And we hope to hear from you soon and see you on social media. Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you very much, Angie. Wendy and Yael, you want to say a few closing words?
Well, thank you for inviting us. Yeah, you guys, you're doing fantastic work, and it's so important to be having these conversations, and it's so important to be finding other ways of treating these problems, and so it's really inspiring to me to hear you all.
And thank you, Wendy, for creating this wonderful film.
כן, אז אני גם רוצה להודות לוונדי ולאנג'י על באמת סרט חשוב מאוד, ולשימון תודה שהזמנת אותי. אני חושבת שזה באמת נושא חשוב וחם, אבל גם מאוד דורש זהירות, אז זה נכון שאני יודעת גם עם מטופלים שלי, שכמו שאנג'י אמרה, זה עוזר להתייעץ ברשת וכו', אבל אני חושבת שחשוב גם שיהיה אנשי מקצוע שמבינים בתחום ומלווים את התהליך, כי זה באמת תהליך שיכול לעלות בדמים לפעמים.
יופי, אז תודה רבה לכולם, ושיהיה לנו בהצלחה ובריאות. ומי שרוצה, מי שלא קיבל תשובה, מוזמן לכתוב לנו ואנחנו ננסה להגיב. והייתה פה שאלה, את הסרט, כרגע, maybe Wendy, can you say, is this film going to be public eventually?
Yes, we're just, for now, we're doing a lot of screenings and we're going to be on broadcast TV in many countries, but then the film will be up on the internet, on Amazon and Hulu and maybe Netflix. But anyone can contact us if you want to do a screening. We do smaller screenings as well as larger ones. And as Angie said, on our YouTube, we have a lot of clips from the experts talking about many different things. And we'll be adding interviews, so maybe we can interview Yael or Shimon also for our YouTube channel. A lot of people are going there for information.
So, so have a pleasant rest of the day for our American friends, and have a good night
Good
for
night.
the Israelis, and all the best.
Yes,
Thank you.
Thank you so
Bye,
much.
everybody.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you.